10 minutes, Ethan. The registrar is tapping his pen, and the guests are getting restless, my elder brother Marcus whispered, leaning into the private suite. He adjusted his silk cuffs, eyeing the garden court where 200 people sat beneath the morning sun. I checked my gold watch again. The hands read 10:50 a.m. The ceremony was scheduled for 11 sharp. She's just adjusting her veil, Marcus. You know how Chloe gets about photos, I said. My voice lacked the confidence I tried so desperately to project. My stomach churned into a cold knot. She should be standing right here with the marriage registry papers, Ethan. Her own mother doesn't even know where she is, Marcus said, crossing his arms. Victoria is out there telling the front row it's a minor wardrobe malfunction, but I can see the panic in her eyes. I pulled my phone from my tuxedo jacket. My thumb hovered over Chloe's contact name before hitting call for the 6th time. Welcome to Verizon Wireless. The party you are trying to reach is unavailable. Straight to voicemail again? Marcus asked quietly. Yeah, I mumbled, staring at the blank screen. Maybe the cellular signal is terrible in the bridal suite. I just came from the bridal suite, man, Marcus replied, his voice dropping an octave. The bridesmaids are sitting in there alone. They said Chloe walked out 45 minutes ago saying she needed fresh air before putting on her gown. She left her veil draped over a chair. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. 3 years. We had been together for 3 long years. I had poured my heart, my late nights, and my financial savings into building a future for us. Today was supposed to be the day I proved I could give her everything she dreamed of. Let me go check the parking lot, I said, stepping toward the hallway door. Before my hand touched the handle, my phone vibrated violently. A picture message arrived from a blocked, anonymous number. I tapped the file to download it. The pixels resolved into sharp, painful clarity. It was a photograph taken inside the high-end lobby bar of the Grand Plaza Hotel, right next to the international airport 20 minutes away. Standing by the marble counter was Chloe in a casual trench coat. Standing directly beside her, his hand resting familiarly on her waist, was Julian Blake. Julian. Her wealthy, arrogant ex-boyfriend who had spent the last 6 months trying to slide back into her life after expanding his luxury business into our city. Ethan? What is it? You look pale, Marcus said, stepping closer. My throat felt locked in a vice. Before I could speak, another notification popped up on my screen, a direct text from Chloe. Ethan, I'm sorry. I needed space to figure things out. Julian called me this morning in a crisis and I had to see him. I can't sign the registry today. Tell everyone the wedding is delayed. Don't make a scene. We will talk tonight. I read those words 3 times. Tell everyone the wedding is delayed. Don't make a scene. Read this, I whispered, handing the phone to Marcus. Marcus snatched it, his eyes darting across the screen. His cheeks flushed crimson with sudden rage. Is she insane? She left you on your wedding morning to run to an airport hotel with Julian Blake. She wants me to delay it, I said, my voice shockingly flat as the initial numbness turned into a hard, cold resolve inside my chest. She thinks I'm going to walk out to 200 people, apologize on her behalf, and sit around waiting until she finishes comforting her ex. She's out of her mind, Marcus spat, pacing near the window. I'm going out there right now to tell her mother to pack up her family. We are canceling this whole circus. No, I said sharply. Marcus stopped dead in his tracks, glaring at me. What do you mean, no? Ethan, she's at a hotel with another man while our family, colleagues, and major business investors are sitting outside under the sun. I am not running away, I said, facing my reflection in the glass. I spent 3 years building my life and my business. I paid for this venue. I invited the people who believed in me. Chloe thinks I am a weak, desperate fool who will swallow his pride and cry until she decides to come back. So what are you going to do? Marcus asked, his expression shifting from anger to total confusion. You can't sign a marriage contract alone, Ethan. The registrar is getting ready to walk out. I am not canceling today, I answered, taking a slow, steady breath that cleared the fog from my brain. Chloe made her choice to throw away my trust. But she doesn't get to destroy my dignity or make me a laughingstock in front of everyone I care about. Ethan, talk to me. What are you planning? Marcus demanded, stepping between me and the exit. I looked past his shoulder, through the glass door toward the front row of the garden seats. Sitting right there in an elegant navy dress was Samantha Reed, my sharp-witted business partner and closest friend since childhood. She was looking around anxiously, holding her phone, clearly wondering why the entrance music hadn't started yet. I refuse to let anyone make a fool out of me today, Marcus, I said quietly, fixing my bow tie in the mirror. Follow me outside right now. Ethan, wait. You can't just walk out there without a plan. Marcus yelled, following me down the marble hallway. Watch me, I said, pushing open the double doors leading into the garden court. The low hum of chatter died down immediately. 200 pairs of eyes locked onto me as I stepped up to the altar where the marriage registrar stood holding the official legal ledger. My heart hammered against my ribs, but my steps remained firm. Victoria Brooks, Chloe's mother, stood up from the front row, her pearl necklace bouncing against her silk dress. Ethan, darling. Where's Chloe? The guests are whispering and the sun is getting far too hot. I didn't answer her. Instead, I took the microphone from the wooden podium and adjusted it. My voice echoed loudly across the open courtyard. Thank you all for coming today, I began, looking straight across the crowd. As many of you know, today was supposed to be the day I signed a legal marriage contract with Chloe Brooks. Victoria gasped, her face turning pale. Ethan, what are you doing? Put that down. However, I continued, ignoring her completely, 15 minutes ago, Chloe chose to abandon this venue. She sent me a text message informing me that she is currently at an airport hotel with her ex-boyfriend, Julian Blake, and that I should delay the wedding for her. The courtyard erupted into sharp gasps and angry whispers. Marcus stepped up to the edge of the aisle, standing guard in case anyone tried to rush the altar. Ethan, you insolent fool. How dare you slander my daughter in public? Victoria shrieked, taking 2 furious steps forward. She is probably just stuck in traffic. You are making a terrible mistake. I have the photo and the text right here on my phone, Victoria, I said, my voice echoing cold and clear over the speakers. Your daughter made her choice. She thought I would stand here like a pathetic fool, cancel the event, and swallow the humiliation. She thought wrong. So what now? A voice called out from the middle rows. Are you sending us all home? No, I declared, my eyes scanning the front row until they locked onto Samantha Reed. I booked this venue, I paid for this registry, and I am going to leave here today as a married man. But only with someone who actually respects me. Sam's eyes widened in total shock. She sat frozen in her navy silk dress, her hands clutching her small silver purse. Sam, I said softly into the microphone, dropping the harsh tone in my voice. You've stood by my side for 8 years. You helped me build my company from a tiny garage into a multimillion-dollar firm. You never lied to me and you never abandoned me. Will you step up here and marry me today? Silence fell over the entire garden. You could hear the wind rustling through the trees. Victoria let out a bitter, hysterical laugh. Is this a joke? She's just your employee. She's your business partner. You can't just swap brides like buying a pair of shoes. Shut up, Victoria, Marcus snapped from the side, stepping directly into her path. Let her answer. Sam stood up slowly. Her cheeks were flushed red, but her eyes were remarkably steady as she looked directly at me. She didn't look flustered or angry. She looked deeply resolute. She walked down the center aisle, her heels clicking softly against the stone pavement. The crowd parted around her, whispers rippling through the rows like wildfire. She stepped up onto the altar platform and stopped right in front of me. Ethan, she whispered, her voice carrying only to me and the stunned registrar. Are you absolutely sure about this? You aren't just doing this out of anger? I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I replied, staring into her dark brown eyes. Chloe showed me who she really is. But you've always been the real anchor in my life, Sam. I was just too blind to see it until 5 minutes ago. Sam took a deep breath, a faint, beautiful smile breaking across her lips. Then I won't let you face this alone. Give me the pen. The registrar cleared his throat, wiping sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Well, both parties are of legal age and the marriage license is valid for this venue today. We may proceed if both individuals consent. We consent, I said firmly. Sign right here, Mr. Vance, and right here, Ms. Reed, the registrar said, pointing his pen toward the crisp white pages of the marriage registry. I picked up the heavy metal pen and signed my name in bold, flowing cursive. I passed the pen to Sam. Her hand was steady as she signed Samantha Reed right next to my signature, legally binding our lives together before the state. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, the registrar announced, looking slightly breathless. You may kiss the bride. Victoria let out a horrified scream in the front row. This isn't real. This marriage is invalid. I'm calling my lawyer. Call whoever you want, Victoria. The ink is already dry. Marcus called back, laughing with sheer relief. I turned to face Sam. She looked up at me, her hands resting gently against the lapels of my tuxedo. The fake, chaotic pretense of the moment suddenly melted away, replaced by an overwhelming wave of genuine emotion. "I know this started as a crazy way to save your dignity, Ethan," Sam whispered softly, leaning in close so only I could hear. "But I mean every single word of those legal vows. I will never leave you standing alone, Ethan. Never." "I know you won't," I murmured back, pulling her waist close and kissing her softly right in front of the cheering crowd. "Ethan, look at this. The wedding video is exploding on Twitter and Instagram," Sam said, holding up her phone as we sat in the quiet lounge room of the venue. "Everyone is sharing the clip of you announcing the betrayal." I glanced at the screen, watching myself standing at the altar. "Good. Let the whole world see the truth before Chloe tries to spin her own lies." "She's already trying," Marcus chimed in, walking into the room with his phone pressed to his ear. He hung up and shook his head. "Julian dumped her at the hotel lobby the second his lawyers warned him about the public scandal. He used her for a quick thrill and kicked her out." Before I could answer, loud footsteps echoed down the grand hallway outside. The heavy wooden doors slammed open, crashing against the wall. Chloe stood in the doorway. Her white wedding dress was torn at the bottom hem, dragged through dirt and gravel. Her hair was a tangled mess, mascara streaks running down her pale cheeks. Her mother Victoria hovered right behind her, red-faced and gasping for breath. "Ethan!" Chloe shrieked, running toward me with open arms. "Ethan, please. Tell me this isn't real. Tell me you didn't actually marry her." I didn't move. I stayed seated next to Sam, resting my arm calmly around the back of Sam's chair. "Stop right there, Chloe. Don't take another step." Chloe stopped, her mouth agape, tears pouring down her face. "Ethan, baby, listen to me. It was a mistake. Julian tricked me. He called me saying he was having an emergency and I panicked. I never meant to hurt you. You left me 10 minutes before our wedding to go to an airport hotel with your ex," I said, my voice ice cold. "You texted me to delay my own wedding so you could comfort him. Was that a mistake too?" I was confused. Chloe sobbed, dropping to her knees on the polished floor. "I was terrified of making the wrong choice. But I came back for you, Ethan. I love you. You have to fix this. Tear up that paper with Samantha. Tell everyone it was just a joke." Victoria stepped forward, pointing an angry finger at Sam. "You snake. You took advantage of my daughter's temporary confusion. Ethan, you belong with Chloe. Unannul that ridiculous registry right now and marry my daughter properly." Sam didn't flinch. She sat tall and looked Victoria dead in the eye. "I didn't steal anything, Victoria." Chloe threw Ethan away like trash. "I simply stood by a man who deserved loyalty." "Shut your mouth," Victoria screamed. "Ethan, listen to reason. Think about our family's reputation. Think about 3 years of your life." "I am thinking about 3 years of my life," I replied, standing up slowly and buttoning my tuxedo jacket. 3 years where I gave Chloe everything she ever asked for, only for her to run to another man the second he snapped his fingers. "I am done being your safety net, Chloe." Chloe crawled forward on her hands and knees, reaching for my shoes. "Ethan, please." Julian locked his hotel door and wouldn't even let me in after the news broke. "You used me. You can't leave me with nothing." "You left yourself with nothing the moment you walked out that door," I said, looking down at her without a single trace of pity left in my heart. "You thought I would sit on the floor and cry until you decided to come back to me. You thought wrong." I pulled a crisp white envelope from my inner jacket pocket and threw it onto the floor right in front of her. What is this?" Chloe stammered, wiping her nose with the back of her trembling hand. "That is the official legal cancellation of our engagement contract," I said firmly. "I am also revoking your access to my credit cards, my apartment and my company premises. As of this exact second, you are a complete stranger to me." "Ethan, no. You can't do this to me," Chloe wailed, clutching the paper to her chest as fresh tears spilled out. "I'm your fiancé." "No, you were my fiancé," I corrected sharply. "This woman sitting right next to me is my legal wife. And I suggest you get out of our sight before I make things much worse for you. You monster." Victoria yelled, rushing over to pull Chloe off the floor. "We will sue you for this. We will take half of your startup company for emotional distress." "You won't take a single dime," Marcus interrupted, stepping between them and waving 2 uniformed police officers into the room. "I called the private security team and the local precinct 10 minutes ago. You are both trespassing on private property. Officers, remove these 2 women from the estate immediately," I commanded, turning my back on them completely. "And make sure they are banned from entering my residential building." Ethan. Look at me. Ethan, please. Chloe screamed as the officers grabbed her arms, dragging her backward toward the exit. Her heels scraped loudly against the floor while her mother shrieked obscenities down the hallway. I love you, Ethan. Please don't do this to me. The heavy doors slammed shut, cutting off her desperate screams instantly. Silence returned to the room. I took a deep breath, feeling a massive weight lift off my chest. I turned back to Sam, who was watching me with soft, steady eyes. Are you okay? Sam asked softly, reaching out to take my hand. I've never been better, I said, squeezing her fingers tightly. The past is gone. Now let's build our real future. Ethan, wake up. We have a massive problem, Sam said, pushing my office door open at 7 in the morning. She threw a printed tech journal article onto my desk. I rubbed my tired eyes and scanned the front page headline. Rising tech CEO accused of intellectual theft and breach of contract. Is this Chloe's doing? I asked, my jaw tightening as I read the opening paragraph. Who else? Sam replied, leaning her hands against my desk. She gave an exclusive interview to Tech Daily 2 hours ago. She claims that our core artificial intelligence algorithm was her original design and that we systematically cheated her out of her co-founder shares before booting her out on your wedding day. She didn't write a single line of code in 3 years. I shouted, tossing the article aside. She barely understood how the product worked. It doesn't matter to the media, Ethan, Sam said calmly, though her eyes flared with suppressed anger. The story is going viral. 2 major venture capital firms have already called my phone to freeze our quarterly funding until this slander gets resolved. She wants to destroy the company because she couldn't control me, I said, standing up and grabbing my jacket. Call a live press conference at our headquarters for 11 o'clock. A live conference? Sam asked, raising an eyebrow. Are you sure? The reporters are bloodthirsty right now. I am completely sure, I answered. Gather every original commit log, the initial copyright filings, and the signed equity waivers Chloe signed 2 years ago when she refused to invest her own savings. By 11 sharp, the main conference room was packed with 50 reporters, flashing cameras, and live broadcast crews. Marcus stood near the doorway, nodding at me as Sam and I took our seats at the front panel. Mr. Vance, did you dump your fiancée and steal her intellectual property to enrich yourself? A senior journalist shouted from the front row, thrusting a microphone forward. I leaned into my microphone, keeping my posture straight and my voice icy and steady. I am going to answer that absolute falsehood with verified digital facts, not emotional performance. I gestured to Sam, who tapped her laptop screen, projecting our entire development repository onto the giant wall display behind us. 3 years ago, when this platform was created, Chloe Brooks was not an employee, an investor, or a contributor, Sam announced clearly, her voice echoing through the silent room. As Chief Operating Officer, I personally managed all internal IP documentation. Every line of code was time-stamped and encrypted by Ethan Vance and myself long before Mr. Vance even met Miss Brooks. What about her claims of co-ownership? Another reporter pressed. She produced signed notes claiming she helped design the system. Those notes were forged or fabricated after the fact, I declared firmly, clicking to the next slide. Here is the signed notarized statement from our legal team, along with Chloe's own written refusal to join the firm as an administrator in 2024. Furthermore, here are the server logs proving she never possessed administrative access to our software architecture. Gasps rippled across the room as the journalists leaned forward, snapping photos of the undeniable legal timestamps. Miss Brooks fabricated these allegations out of pure personal malice after her own infidelity ended our engagement, I added, looking straight into the main network camera. Her attempt to frame my company is a desperate act of revenge, and our legal team is filing a multi-million-dollar defamation lawsuit against her this afternoon. Mr. Vance, what is your official message to Miss Brooks right now? A reporter called out. My message is simple, I said, reaching over to take Sam's hand in mine right in front of the cameras. You failed. You tried to ruin my life, my marriage, and my business, but truth isn't something you can manipulate with cheap stories. Sam turned her head toward me, a brilliant, proud smile breaking across her face as she squeezed my fingers tightly. We built this company on trust and hard work. No bitter lie will ever take that away from us. Within an hour of the broadcast ending, Tech Daily retracted their article and issued a public apology. Chloe's slander had backfired completely, destroying her remaining professional credibility in the business community. Standing beside Sam in the quiet hallway afterward, I realized that every attack brought us closer together as unbreakable partners. You left your mug on the dining table again, Mr. Vance? Sam said, stepping into the kitchen with a soft smile. I looked up from my laptop, offering a tired laugh. It was empty, I swear. Besides, isn't coffee an essential business expense around here? Only if you wash the cup afterward, she teased, setting her briefcase down on the counter. She walked over and rested her hands lightly on my shoulders, leaning down to look at my screen. Are those the third quarter growth reports for our new cloud architecture? Yeah, I replied, leaning my head back against her. We hit 30% above our initial projections. I guess surviving a public scandal really builds investor confidence. Or maybe people just like betting on a solid team, Sam said softly, her thumb gently brushing against my cheek. I turned in my chair and reached for her hand, pulling her slightly closer. 6 months had passed since our chaotic wedding day. What had begun as an impulsive, desperate act to save my dignity had evolved into something far deeper than I ever imagined. Living together, working together, and sharing our quiet late-night conversations had bridged the gap between best friends and true romantic partners. I caught myself looking at you during the board meeting today, I admitted, my voice dropping to a quiet confession. I kept thinking about how lucky I was that you stepped up to that altar. Sam smiled, her cheeks flushing a delicate pink. I didn't step up just to save your reputation, Ethan. I think a small part of me had been waiting for that moment for years. I was just waiting for you to open your eyes. I was blind for a long time, I murmured, squeezing her hand tightly. But I see everything clearly now. Before she could answer, my phone vibrated loudly against the granite countertop. The screen lit up with an unsaved number, followed immediately by a long text message. Sam glanced down at the screen, her warm expression instantly cooling. Is that who I think it is? I picked up the phone and opened the message, scanning the block of text aloud. Ethan, please don't block this number too. I'm begging you to talk to me. Julian took everything. He convinced me to transfer my life savings into his shell company for an investment, and now he won't answer my calls. He kicked me out of his apartment. I'm living in a terrible motel, Ethan. I made one mistake. 3 years of our love shouldn't be erased by one mistake. Please meet me for coffee. Remind yourself of who we used to be. She's delusionally shameless, Marcus said, stepping into the living room holding a folder of legal documents. He had let himself in using his spare key. Is Chloe still texting you from burner phones? She's been sending 5 or 6 messages a day, I said, tossing my phone onto the desk with a heavy sigh. She was waiting near the parking garage when I left the office yesterday evening too. She was stalking you? Sam asked, her brow furrowing with deep concern. Ethan, why didn't you tell me she approached you in person? Because she didn't get within 20 feet of me, I explained, looking straight into Sam's eyes. Security turned her away before she could even say a word. I didn't want to bring her negativity into our home. She thinks she can guilt-trip you back into her life now that her wealthy ex ruined her financially, Marcus scoffed, dropping his folder onto the table. Julian's luxury dealership went bankrupt last week under federal fraud investigations. He bled Chloe dry to pay off his own debts before vanishing. Karma moves fast, Sam said quietly, stepping beside me and crossing her arms. She chose money and status over loyalty, and now she has neither. I'm not giving her a single penny, and I'm certainly not giving her my time, I said firmly, pulling out my phone again to block the new number. She ruined her own life the moment she walked out on our wedding morning. She called my office line this afternoon, Ethan, Marcus added, taking a seat across from us. She was crying, claiming that you owed her financial support because she sacrificed 3 years of her youth for your startup. I let out a harsh, disbelieving laugh. Sacrificed her youth? She spent 3 years using my credit cards while Sam worked 80 hours a week alongside me to build the actual code. I told her that if she steps foot near your office building or your apartment complex again, I'm filing a formal restraining order on your behalf, Marcus said sternly. She has no legal standing, no emotional claim, and no rights to anything you own. Good, I said, leaning back and lacing my fingers through Sam's. I want her completely cut off. I don't want to hear her name, and I don't want her ghost lingering over my life anymore. Sam looked down at me, her eyes filled with trust and affection. Are you sure you don't feel even a little bit of pity for her, Ethan? Pity? I looked at Sam, feeling the warm, steady pulse of her hand in mine. When I stood at that altar alone 6 months ago, she didn't show me an ounce of pity. She expected me to swallow my pride and wait like a dog. The only thing I feel for Chloe Brooks right now is absolute indifference. That's the best revenge you could ever give her, Sam whispered, bending down to kiss my forehead gently. Indifference. "Are you ready for tonight, Mr. Entrepreneur of the Year?" Sam asked, adjusting my black bow tie in the mirror of our hotel suite. "Only if you're standing right next to me, Mrs. Vance," I replied, smiling as I kissed her cheek. The grand ballroom was packed with 500 executives, investors, and tech leaders. Flashbulbs went off continuously as Sam and I walked down the red carpet toward our front row table. "Ethan Vance. Over here," photographers shouted. We sat down, exchanging quiet laughs while the opening remarks began. Halfway through the ceremony, the presenter cleared his throat into the microphone. "And now, for the Innovation and Visionary Leadership Award, please welcome the co-founder of Vance Tech Solutions, Ethan Vance." Applause erupted across the hall. I stood up, hugging Sam tightly before walking toward the stage steps. But before my foot hit the first stair, a sharp, shrieking voice shattered the celebratory atmosphere. "He's a liar. He's a fraud." The room fell dead silent. I stopped, turning around to see Chloe marching down the central aisle. She wore a faded, stained cocktail dress, her hair unwashed and wild. Security guards rushed toward her, but she shoved past them hysterically. "Chloe, stop this right now," Marcus warned, stepping out from our table to block her path. "Get out of my way, Marcus." Chloe screamed, her eyes bloodshot as she pointed a trembling finger directly at me on stage. "Look at him. Look at the great Ethan Vance. He built his career on my back, stole my youth for 3 years, and then threw me onto the street like trash on our wedding day." Gasps echoed through the audience. Murmurs broke out among the investors. "Is this woman telling the truth?" a prominent venture capitalist whispered near the front. Chloe saw the crowd's confusion and grinned maliciously, stepping closer to the stage platform. "He abandoned me for his assistant. He left me penniless while he lives in luxury. He ruined my life." I didn't panic. I didn't yell. I stood calmly at the podium microphone, looking down at her frantic, tear-streaked face. "Are you finished, Chloe?" I asked, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system. "You can't hide from the truth anymore, Ethan," she shrieked, folding her arms. "Tell everyone what you did to me." "I don't need to tell them anything," I replied softly. "I'll just show them." I reached into my inner jacket pocket, pulled out a small black flash drive, and handed it directly to the head technician standing beside the stage AV station. "Play file number 1 on the main screens, please." "Wait, what are you doing?" Chloe demanded, her voice suddenly losing its confident edge. "What is that?" "It's the truth," Sam said firmly, stepping up onto the stage beside me and holding my hand. The 4 massive projection screens above the stage flickered to life. Instantly, the high-resolution hotel security footage played for the entire ballroom to see. It showed Chloe walking into the Grand Plaza Hotel on our wedding morning, wearing her trench coat, kissing Julian Blake, and checking into a private suite with him. Below the video, a massive screenshot of her text message appeared in giant white text. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I needed space. Julian called me in a crisis. Tell everyone the wedding is delayed. Don't make a scene." Shocked gasps echoed across 500 people. Cameras flashed wildly at the screen, then directly at Chloe's pale, horror-stricken face. "No. Turn it off. Turn it off right now." Chloe screamed, covering her face with both hands as she stumbled backward. "That's fake. It's edited. It's verified by the hotel's legal team and time-stamped exactly 40 minutes before our scheduled ceremony," I declared into the microphone, my tone sharp and uncompromising. "You abandoned our wedding to be with your wealthy ex-boyfriend, Chloe. And when he dumped you after the news broke, you tried to destroy my company with lies." "She's a fraud," someone from the executive table shouted. "Get her out of here," another investor yelled. "Wait, there's more," Marcus called out, stepping up with his phone connected to the hall's news ticker feed. "Federal agents just arrested Julian Blake at the airport 10 minutes ago. His entire firm was operating a $50 million Ponzi scheme. He's facing 20 years in federal prison." Chloe gasped, dropping to her knees right in the middle of the aisle. The crushing reality hit her all at once. Julian was ruined, her reputation was destroyed on live national news feeds, and her last desperate attempt at revenge had blown up in her face. "Chloe Brooks, you are under arrest for criminal trespass and violation of a protective order," 2 uniformed police officers announced, grabbing her arms and lifting her off the floor. "Ethan, please, don't let them take me." Chloe sobbed hysterically, her eyes wide with total terror as she looked up at me. "I have nothing left. I have no money, no home, no one. Please help me." I looked down at her from the stage, feeling no anger, no hatred, and no regret. "You brought this karma on yourself, Chloe," I said calmly into the microphone. You chose greed over loyalty, and now you have to live with the consequences. Ethan. Ethan. Her voice faded into desperate wails as the officers dragged her out through the heavy double doors of the ballroom, permanently removing her from my sight. The room remained silent for 2 seconds before a single person began clapping. Within moments, the entire ballroom stood up, erupting into a thunderous standing ovation. I turned to Sam, pulling her into my arms and kissing her deeply right there on the stage. You handled that brilliantly, my love, Sam whispered against my lips, her eyes shining with pride. The past is officially dead, I answered, holding her tight as the applause echoed around us. Now let's accept this award together. Thank you for meeting me, Ethan, Victoria whispered, her hands trembling as she adjusted her small coffee cup. The loud, arrogant woman who had screamed at my wedding was completely gone. In her place sat a tired, broken mother with heavy dark circles under her eyes. You said it was urgent, Victoria, I said, sitting across from her in the quiet corner booth. I have 10 minutes before my next meeting with Sam and Marcus. I won't take much of your time, she replied, wiping a tear from her cheek with a crumpled napkin. I came to apologize. Truly apologize. I looked at her silently, waiting for her to continue. It was my fault, Ethan, Victoria broke down, her voice shaking violently. I pushed Chloe toward Julian. Ever since his business expanded here, I kept telling her that you were just a struggling programmer, that Julian could offer her real luxury. I filled her head with greed because I wanted social status. She was an adult, Victoria. She made her own choices, I said firmly. I know, but I drove her to it, she sobbed, burying her face in her hands. And now Julian is in federal prison, Chloe is facing massive legal bills, and collection agencies are calling our house every hour. We lost everything, Ethan. We're going to lose our home next month. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice remaining even and steady. Please, Ethan, just $50,000, Victoria begged, reaching across the table to touch my arm. I pulled my hand back immediately. It's pocket change for your company now. Just enough to clear her personal debts and keep us from sleeping on the street. She loved you once, Ethan. Please. No, I answered without a single second of hesitation. Ethan, please, she gasped, fresh tears spilling over her wrinkled cheeks. Have you no mercy left in your heart? I gave Chloe 3 years of unwavering devotion, Victoria, I said, leaning forward slightly. I offered her my loyalty, my future, and my heart. She threw it in my face for Julian's fake millions. Actions have real consequences. She's broken, Ethan. She barely speaks. She sits in her room all day staring at old photos of you. Victoria cried softly. She knows she ruined the best thing that ever happened to her. Giving you money won't fix her character or repay her debts, Victoria, I stated clearly. It will only teach her that someone will always bail her out when she acts maliciously. So you're just going to let us drown? She asked, her eyes filled with quiet despair. I won't pay her debts or give you cash, I said, pulling out a business card and placing it on the table between us. This is the contact info for a top-tier psychological counseling center. I will personally cover the full cost of Chloe's mental health treatment for 6 months. Victoria stared at the card, stunned. Therapy? Yes. If she actually wants to rebuild her life from the ground up, she needs to fix her mind and her morals first, I explained, standing up from the booth and buttoning my suit jacket. That is the absolute maximum extent of my generosity. Do not contact me, Sam, or my brother ever again. Victoria looked up at me, swallowed hard, and slowly took the card. Thank you, Ethan, and I'm sorry. Goodbye, Victoria, I said, turning my back and walking out into the afternoon sun, leaving the shadows of my past behind forever. Are you nervous, Mr. Vance? Sam asked, stepping up behind me on the quiet, white sand as the waves lapped gently against the shore. I turned around, taking a deep breath as the warm evening breeze brushed against my face. Nervous? After everything we've survived this past year? Fair point, Sam laughed softly, reaching up to adjust my linen collar. Standing on a quiet beach with 20 of our closest friends and family is a bit different than facing 200 shocked guests in a garden court. That garden court feels like a lifetime ago, I said, catching her hand and lacing my fingers through hers. Today isn't about saving face, repairing honor, or proving anything to the media. Today is just about you and me. Just you and me, she repeated, her brown eyes shining with quiet, profound warmth. Marcus walked up the wooden boardwalk from the beach house, carrying a black folder and wearing a relaxed smile. All right, lovebirds. The justice of the peace is ready when you are. No frantic texts from exes today, right? I changed my phone number 4 months ago, Marcus. You know that, I replied, letting out a genuine hearty laugh. Good. Because if anyone tries to crash this wedding, I'm tossing them directly into the ocean, Marcus joked, patting my shoulder firmly. You look truly happy, little brother. I've waited a long time to see you like this. I am happy, Marcus, I said, looking out at the vast horizon. For the first time in my life, I feel completely at peace. As the sun began to dip toward the water, paint stroking the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Sam and I stood together at the water's edge. Our friends stood in a small circle around us, smiling warmly. There were no flashing cameras, no high society gossipers, and no lingering ghosts of betrayal. The justice of the peace stepped forward, smiling softly at us. Ethan and Samantha, 1 year ago you stepped into a legal contract under extraordinary circumstances. Today you stand here willingly to offer each other your personal, heartfelt vows. Ethan, would you like to begin? I held both of Sam's hands in mine, looking straight into her eyes. The noise of the world faded into the background, leaving only the sound of the ocean waves and the steady beating of my own heart. Sam, I spoke clearly, my voice steady and filled with emotion. 1 year ago today I thought my life was falling apart. I thought my trust was completely shattered, and I thought I was standing in front of 200 people completely alone. Sam smiled gently, a tear glistening on her cheek. I didn't realize back then that my worst day was actually the greatest blessing of my entire life, I continued, squeezing her hand softly. Chloe walking out of my life didn't break me, it freed me. It opened my eyes to the woman who had been standing beside me all along. You were my partner in business, my best friend in hardship, and now, the absolute love of my life. Ethan. Sam whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. I promise to honor you, respect you, and protect what we built together, I declared from the depth of my soul. I promise to build a life with you based on honesty, loyalty, and shared dreams. I will love you for the rest of my days, without hesitation and without regret. Sam took a deep, shaky breath, wiping a stray tear with the back of her thumb before holding up her handwritten card. Ethan, she began, her voice ringing out like a sweet melody over the tide. 8 years ago, I started working alongside a brilliant, stubborn man who worked 80 hours a week to build a dream. I watched you give your all to people who didn't appreciate your value, and I stayed quiet because I wanted you to be happy. You were always my guardian angel, Sam, I murmured softly. On that wild, chaotic morning 1 year ago when you turned around and asked me to walk up to that altar, my heart stopped, Sam admitted with a soft chuckle. I didn't step up just to save your dignity, Ethan. I stepped up because I had loved you silently for years, and I knew with absolute certainty that I would never, ever let you stand alone in the dark. She looked up into my eyes, her expression fiercely strong and deeply loving. I promise to be your anchor in every storm, your partner in every victory, and your absolute best friend until my last breath. I am yours, Ethan. Completely and forever. By the power vested in me, I proudly reaffirm your vows and renew your sacred bond of marriage, the justice announced with a radiant smile. Ethan, you may kiss your wife. I pulled Sam close by her waist, dipping her back slightly as I kissed her deeply under the golden evening sky. Our friends cheered and applauded, their laughter filling the coastal air. Standing there on the warm sand, holding my true partner in my arms, a profound sense of clarity washed over me. Chloe had sought wealth, status, and superficial attention, only to end up with nothing but debt, shame, and complete isolation. Julian had sought power and fraud, only to end up behind iron bars. Karma had delivered its silent, inescapable justice without me having to raise a single finger in vengeance. Betrayal had tried to destroy me, but instead, it had transformed me into a stronger, wiser, and happier man. I had lost a toxic relationship, but I had gained my self-respect, my true purpose, and a deep, everlasting love. Ready to start our new chapter, husband? Sam asked, wrapping her arm around my waist as we walked down the beach together. I'm ready, my love, I replied, looking toward the horizon with a grateful heart. Our story is just beginning.